Okay, we're recording. Got to take it over. Got to do another take. You've never experienced that.
Wait, my tone's not right.
Don't use that tone with me. It's been a long time since I've seen you, since the last take that I just messed up. I think a lot of people are going to expect this interview to be about guitars and gear, and it's really, I mean, maybe that's kind of like ancillary to what I'm after. And I think what a lot of people might not know is that I taught you guitar in college, which is mind-boggling.
Taught me everything I know.
So I remember that there was a point in college where you were very frustrated.
Only one?
I remember many points in college where you were very frustrated. You were in the top 3% in terms of hard workers. Like, you did everything. You did every assignment, and you went above and beyond. And that has always been your work ethic since I've known you. I guess I'm telling this story to those people who don't know you to underscore the fact that you're beyond a hard worker. Maybe obsessed with hard work, would you say?
Sure. Yeah, I resemble that.
Hey guys, Professor O'Kane here. If you like the content I've created, you're really digging this channel, please grab your nuts and then click the subscribe button and then hit the bell. Jesus. And you'll be able to get all the content as soon as it comes out.
Yes.
Maybe to a fault, I don't know. It's not necessarily a good thing.
Well,
I mean, it's good for some things.
It's good for what it's good for, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you made it through school with the master's degree in writing and not creative writing. With
Email writing.
Yeah. What was the name of the actual degree?
Studio jazz writing.
Studio jazz writing, which is writing and arranging, which actually you were doing really well way before you got the degree. I mean, you already had a concept for writing and arranging. And had you done any of that prior to school?
No, not on that level. I mean, yeah, in the context of like garage bands and local bands and gigging and that kind of stuff. And thinking about with like a producer's ears kind of thing, thinking about the big picture, I guess. A little bit more so than maybe the average guitarist. So
before you were into gear and all of that kind of thing, even though you did have the Soldano and such, oh my God, we mentioned gear. I mentioned it. Yeah, remember I was the same guy who would buy like $700 worth of pedals, and
I remember that. That was fun.
We try them out and send them all back and maybe keep one. So you were already thinking like a producer at that point, were you?
I don't know, maybe a little bit more than, I mean, everybody has kind of like things that they're into. And yeah, I sort of thought that way. I mean, I thought of myself as, a guitarist, writer, whatever, slash. I mean, that was in the days of like, oh my God, I got to do everything I can do to make money kind of thing.
Right, that kind of was the vibe back then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we're going to have a big fast forward here, because you did get your undergraduate in performance, you got your master's in writing, and then you just literally got in your car and drove across country to California.
Yeah, I mean, I should add at that point too, when I did the master's, really the only reason I did that is because when I was in undergrad, I saw that kind of chapter starting to close, and I was going, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I'm from kind of a small town, and I didn't want to move back there and like just do the same stuff I was doing in high school. But I was also broke you know, like every other college student. And I definitely tried to keep in touch with some of the older students. And at the time, most of the people were moving to New York. And really, I heard the same thing from all of them, which was like, yeah, it's great. I mean, I saw like this guy played and that guy played. But man, I have to like work at this bakery doing deliveries. So I have to get up at like 4 a.m. and it's really cold and I don't even have any heat in my place. And then, you know, like by the time I get home, I'm too tired to work on music and it's been 3 years, you know, and you're going, geez. So it was kind of like light bulb. I can't move somewhere with no money. Okay, so what do I do as a starving college student to make money? And I realized, wow, the TA thing, the teaching assistant position is going to open up right as I'm ready to graduate. Mm-hmm. So I sort of started like preparing like, oh, maybe I should try and get that. Because it was a free master's plus a stipend. And kind of by that time, I was sort of starting to work around town a little bit. So I kind of had like a game plan of like, okay, I have 2 years to like save every dime and like get as much stuff together as I can. And then I really need to get out of there before, you know, I kind of get sucked in. Because Miami's the kind of place where like you can work kind of a lot and the cost of living is low, you know, which is great, you know.
It was low.
Well, yeah.
But you're right about getting sucked in because this is no offense to the lads who are working there, but it's the same guys probably from when you were here and the same guys from 10, 15 years before. So yes.
Yeah.
And then you got in your car.
Right. I just wanted to add that just because, you know, I think there's a thing of like getting stuck in academia almost like out of fear of the real world. So yeah, well, I mean, it's easy. It's, you know,
yep.
I would encourage students to like really try and do whatever they can to make that not such like a slam, like big transition, you know, just.
And for those who don't know why I raised my hand, it's because I've been a college professor since before I knew Andrew until now. Playing it safe. So well, actually it's not safe at all anymore. It's treacherous, but that's another video. So so you went ahead.
How many people you think we've lost so far?
Do you mean to unemployment or to job?
No, viewers of this video.
All of them.
Morning and opened the phone book.
You called
literally
about the muffler too. You called me about that, didn't you? I think you did.
Probably, because I was like,
yeah. Who's the only guy I know who knows about a muffler? Okay, so enough automotive. You made it to California, and I remember you slept on a lot of couches. Not casting couches.
Yeah, exactly.
But you.
It's too bad this isn't like Family Guy where we can just cut to like some ridiculous cartoon.
Since I'm holding the camera, I'm going to need some help with my belt buckle. And there you have it. Family Guy reaches a new low as it grovels and begs for a meaningless award.
So you did end up on people's couches, and it took a while for you to get established out there.
Well, I was doing some road stuff in Miami before I left, and I think I had done just enough to realize, I don't think this is for me. And, you know, for better or for worse, the first few gigs I did were pretty bad, like bottom of the tier kind of stuff. So like, you know, stuff would get canceled at the last minute. Like it would be like, hey guys, we're going out for 2 weeks. Oh, the label pulled the budget, sorry. You know, like the day before kind of stuff. Yeah, I hated that. And so I know there's a lot of great touring gigs, but the ones I did, it was sort of like knee-jerk reaction, like first impression thing, like, ugh, this isn't for me. Which helped me when I moved to LA because I really put on blinders, like, I want to be a recording guitarist.
From that point, did you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was a very vibrant, like, touring scene and like audition scene, and I would definitely do those because I had nothing going on. So I just did absolutely anything that came in. It's like, sure, I'll go down to that rehearsal studio and audition for whatever. So I did some of that, you know.
for the Avril Lavigne gig.
Yeah, yeah.
After you decided that this isn't what I want to do, you did what? Like, how did you make money?
Well, it wasn't, this isn't what I want to do. It was like, this is the thing I want to do.
Yeah.
And all these other things can pay the bills until this thing becomes the only thing.
Okay.
Or the main thing, you know, whatever. I mean, there's, you know, it's sort of like a la carte pick and choose. Everybody kind of makes their own career, you know.
So how did you get people to call you?
There was one alumnus of that program who was out here working.
Oh.
His name's Vagar.
Right.
He had done the same writing program that I had done. And it was like, you know, that same thing that we all do, where it's like, this guy, you have something in common, give him a call and see if anything comes of it. And so, like, you know, we got lunch, we did the LA thing. And I do think it's important to note that, like, when I was a student, there was a writing assignment where it was, everybody got, I don't know, 15 minutes with the orchestra, and you could do whatever you wanted. And most of the people did like these big, like sweeping, complicated things. And I was like, well, if I have 15 minutes, that doesn't mean it has to be one 15-minute piece. I could do 3 different things that are short and use those as like a demo. Then I go and I meet this guy Vagar, and I'm like, hey, if you have a chance, this, you know, we know, like, yeah, we went to the same program. We're trying to help each other out here. If you have a chance, please listen to my demo. And so it was like, you know, 30 seconds of that kind of thing. And then like quick fade out, quick fade into 30 seconds of like Van Halen tapping stuff, quick fade out, fade into like bebop stuff, whatever, you know, just so that people can get a sense of, you know, what you do kind of thing. I mean, nowadays it would just be a website or whatever, or I mean, Instagram for that matter.
The first time I heard of anybody doing it was Teddy Castellucci, who did that cassette tape. And
I mean, you probably gave me that idea, as a matter of fact. So
perhaps
I'll check us in the mail.
I hope you send a priority. Priority. So he heard you play. He must have been familiar with you already, right?
Well, there's a certain like level. I mean, I don't know, maybe not, but there's a certain like, okay, if you did that program, Gary, the director of that program, he doesn't let just anybody in there. So there must be some level of competency going on. But more important than that is, and this is crazy, it's like one of those old like LA stories you hear. Vagar used to, I'm not sure who the guy was that he used to use on guitar, but he had recently passed away. And so Vagar was like looking for somebody. And I mean, it's like literally that thing you hear, like, oh, you gotta wait for somebody to die, kid. But that's actually what happened. And at the time, he was real busy doing these custom movie trailers. And I think it was one of the Ocean's 12, Ocean's whatever, 13. And it was, I mean, like so he's like, you know, actually, if you can really do what this demo says you can do, I might have a lot of work for you. And that was the first thing we did, and it went great. I mean, it was really quick and easy. And just like, hey, I paid my rent in a couple hours.
And through all of that, you're practicing every day, right? Including reading and all of that stuff, right?
Big time, yeah.
And are you still doing that now as well?
Yeah, a little bit, not as much. It's just not as much time.
And do you find that you were practicing harder reading stuff that you would ever see at the dates?
Yes and no. The hard thing is that, you know, in your room, it's like this nice self-contained chamber where there's no distractions. But on a date, it's like the mix might be weird, or so many factors that are outside of your control that are gonna like be almost like at the forefront of your mind. And then the reading is like, that has to kind of take care of itself.
There's a lot of people that might be watching this that are wondering what the session world is. And like, I'm thinking union, where there's a time that you start and a time that you stop and a max amount of time that you're going to be recording, and that's enforced. Where here in Miami, you know, you show up late and then you record, you're at the place for way too long, and it's just that it's not a kind of a union world as it is in Los Angeles.
Yeah, there's definitely a different level of kind of detail-oriented mindset, I would say.
And are now that you have your studio at your home, are you still going out to commercial studios and recording?
Well, we should note that as we're talking, we're in the middle of a pandemic and no one's going anywhere,
Right.
in Los Angeles anyway. But pre this whole situation, yes, very much so.
Really?
Very much going out every day. And it might be to a studio with other musicians, or it might just be to the composer's house.
And how many of those dates would you use Cartage on?
Varies. Maybe once or twice a week kind of thing.
Okay. And is this a job that somebody who's in school right now can think, you know what, I want to do this job. I want to start preparing for this. I want to move out to Los Angeles. I want to be the next Andrew Synowiec or the next 18 session guy, that kind of thing.
I think so, but you know, it's funny because I was just talking to somebody the other day, and it's like the level of work that you have to put in. You sort of have to enjoy the craft as you're going along, because there's not like glory there's no like pot of gold at the end of the rainbow thing. Like maybe there was in the old days, although I don't even think back in the old days it was. So if you're willing to, work, to a fault and make this the priority for all of your 20s and most of your 30s, and know that there's still no guarantee, and be okay with that, you can probably make it happen.
And could you make it happen without a really nice studio in your home like you have?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you would say it's a viable chance to take? Of course,
I don't think anything's viable anymore. It's so hard because it was hard, and it's funny to say this. It was hard when I did it, and I feel like it's even harder now, which is crazy to think. But yet I still get the, hey, I just moved to LA, can we have coffee thing? And I meet people and I go, this kid's gonna be totally fine. And 3 months later, I see on, Instagram or whatever, oh, he's playing with whatever, Lady Gaga. And you're like, yeah, he's totally fine. Because he, he has the right attitude, has the right skill set, willing to work hard.
Would it be too anti-political to ask how political you have to be in terms of, I'm not talking about politics left and right, I'm talking about music politics, folks. How does one learn that?
I feel like it is a skill you can work on, because I definitely am not wired that way. Like, I didn't grow up in an entertainment household. I grew up on the East Coast where people are that was a big change to get used to. I always say, like, when I first moved here, I was like literally like answering these Craigslist ads, and I would, okay, we're going to like meet for coffee at this time. And I'd be there like, 10 minutes early. And then you get this text at like 10 minutes after, oh, sorry, traffic. It's like, yeah, we live in LA. Of course there's traffic. And that took me a long time to get used to. So, but like getting back to that touring thing that I kind of didn't really enjoy, like I sort of like a lot of stuff came up where I realized like, wow, am I the only one in this room that's unhappy right now? Like, why is that? And, you have to do some soul searching and kind of figure out like, there is that thing of like, okay, like strike one in this scenario that comes up in your life. Maybe that's the other guy, but like strike two, oh, maybe there's something going on with me. And so I meet people that are like getting back to like, oh, this person just moved here and they're already doing all this stuff. And you can tell they're just like super gregarious and they get along with everybody. And you're like, they have that thing. And me, I prefer to be in my little airtight, self-contained laboratory where I can control the temperature.
It seems
Yeah,
like
I'm just wired that way. But, you know, I think that getting back to your question, like, you got to figure out like where you naturally kind of fit in and where, like, what job in the music business kind of matches that, you know, personality that you're kind of born with.
And would somebody who wants to do that have to buy $10,000 or $20,000 worth of gear?
I mean, maybe eventually, but not have to. I did not have all this stuff. I had like two electrics and a nylon string and an acoustic when I moved here. So,
Yeah.
and then little by little, it's, you just kind of get what you need if you can.
And that actually would cover a lot of gigs, wouldn't it?
Yeah. You know, the other thing is you make friends and you can borrow stuff, you know?
I just want to touch on this for a second. Your solo career, your recording, how do you keep that going while you're working on everybody else's whatever?
Yeah.
Or what have you?
Lately, I wake up very early and I sort of try and devote a little bit of the day to that stuff, whether it's writing or just practicing.
How early is early?
Today I got up at 5:30.
That's early. So you're to bed by what, 10?
Yeah, maybe before that.
Okay, Grandpa.
Yeah, exactly. But see, there again, you know, but you have to figure out, like, well, what can I do, you know, that suits that lifestyle?
No, I'm joking, but I know as somebody who stays up very late all the time that it's simply unhealthy. It really is. So you're doing that part right. And it seems like the whole aspect of discipline has really not left your life at all. Especially if you're strictly waking up, you know, 5:30, 6, and getting your own stuff done, and you have a regimented calendar. Is that what you have?
Yeah, very much. I mean, even again in the midst of this pandemic, I mean, maybe even more so because like every day is kind of the same if you're not careful.
Yeah.
There's just so many, I mean, maybe too many kind of irons in the fire that if I don't always, you know, I'm a big list maker. I just need to have that stuff out of my head and look at it and go, okay, this thing is due this day. This thing I know I promised it on this day, that kind of thing. Like, which leaves this day open. I bet this person's going to call and need that TV show that always happens on that day.
Are you fast with your recordings? Like with doing solos and making parts and all that? Have you now become fast at that?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it depends. Sometimes, like I was just doing this lap steel thing. It was like, you know, I hadn't played it in a while. So it's like, does this sound more country than Hawaiian? Because this thing needs to sound Hawaiian. And the last thing I did, I think my country licks from the last thing are making it into the Hawaiian thing. So that's the stuff that's hard. It's like, you know, getting back to that thing of like, you have to be able to self-produce. I think setting goals is a big help. So come up with some goals, things you want to achieve, literally write them down. I mean, you know, it's kind of cheesy, but one thing you can do is like, where do I want to be in 20 years? Okay, cut that in half. Where do I need to be in 10 years? Okay, cut that in half. Where do I need to be in 5 years? And it's like, oh man, I better get working, you know?
So what goal could, like, give me an example of a goal that somebody who's wanting to be a session guitarist would try and shoot for? Something simple, but something that take a little bit of work.
Being able to read all over the fretboard. And I mean, that's even that's kind of arbitrary, but like, you know, I was going to say, you got to be well-rounded, and everybody has either like musical styles that they like more than another, or just things that they naturally can do on the guitar easier than other things. You got to make sure that you're not leaving, you know, gaps, because, you know, you might be a virtuoso country player, but then if you're only ever using like a clean chicken picking sound and somebody needs you to do like Tom Morello.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's a lot of the stuff I do is like, you know, like the animated stuff where it's like, you know, there's like this, like, they go camping and it's like, they're out in the woods and it's scary. So they use banjo, you know, like scary banjo or something. But then like later on, there's a wrestling match. So it's like Sunday, 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 kind of like guitar stuff, you know, and in the course of, that's one little gig, you know? Mm-hmm. And if for somebody to get called, like, it can't be like, well, I can call this guy for this thing and this other person for this other thing, and I can call her for this thing. Like, it's just got to be one person that can do all of it. You know, unfortunately, there's no, I mean, very rarely are there more than one guitar player anymore.
So maybe perhaps out of all that, it wouldn't just be reading all over the neck. It could be reading on a variety of instruments.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And frustrating thing is like, well, you know, I said be well-rounded, but that changes every day. So you're like trying to hit this moving target, you know?
So yeah, and then the moving target becomes owning all those instruments.
Exactly. And then stuff breaks and you spend all day driving around getting stuff fixed. I mean, it is a full-time, it's like 10 full-time jobs, you know? So you got to be okay with that or you're never going to last.
Well, Andrew, I appreciate that. I know that this is kind of like an arbitrary place to end this, but I think that there is a lot of information in there, and people don't usually get the opportunity to even see somebody who is on the A-team session player even talk. Or they, aside from Michael Landau and Tim Pierce, they've never seen any session players. So the fact that you're actually a very successful session player who's working all the time, I think this is going to be eye-opening and kind of cool to see that you're, well, I was going to say normal, but that would be really stretching it. That you're
big nerd.
Yeah, you're a big nerd, right. There you go. So anyways, man, I really appreciate it. I salute you. And thanks for everything. I appreciate that.
All right, cool. My pleasure.